This week on Eye on the Clarence.
I'm Dorothy Hillis, and I've lived here in the Clarence Valley for over 25 years now. Almost makes me a local. I'm working on it. Very interested in helping to preserve the environment. I'm a member of the Clarence Valley Environment Group. We always need volunteers too, by the way. And we came across the idea of Nannas knitting against whatever. In this case, coal seam gas. And we've joined a fairly unofficial group which calls themselves the CNAGs, the Knitting Nannas Against Gas. And this is our Nannafesto. We peacefully and productively protest against the destruction of our land and water by exploration and mining of coal seam gas and other non-renewable energy sources. We support energy generation from renewable sources. Knitting Nannas Against Gas, or CNAG, is affiliated with the Lock the Gate Alliance, as you see by our adverts. We sit, knit, plot, have a yarn, no pun intended, and a cuppa, and bear witness to the war against the greedy, short-sighted corporations that are trying to rape our land and divide our communities. NAG's aims are to bring attention to the issues surrounding CSG mining and exploration, to show our opposition just how far from radical the extremists who oppose CSG are, to entertain and inform the public, and to bring new supporters to the anti-coal seam gas movement. We're happy to support other protest groups, either in person or electronically. Suggested activities, if you want to join us, not just knitting, crocheting, whittling, cross-stitch, sewing, you get the idea. And suggestions for new ideas are always welcome, so look out for us whenever there's a protest going on.
Lynette, could I ask you, I'm not a very good knitter. I did have lessons years and years ago, and I was trying to make a bag.
My name's Nannas AgainstCSG. I was born in the Clarence Valley. Obviously lived here all my life. I'm 53. Have 3 children and 3 grandchildren, and the main reason I'm against coal seam gas is because of our future generations. I'm concerned about what the world's going to be like for my 3 grandchildren. Also, having lived here all my life, we live here because it's a relatively pristine environment, and I don't want to see an industrialised landscape. From what I've read and seen in other areas where coal seam gas mining's taking place, it's certainly ruining a lot of country and a lot of lives. It's causing lots of feuds between neighbours and families. It's really disruptive social impacts, and the health benefits are non-existent. It impedes health, and there's lots of issues with it, and it's just a dirty, messy industry, and I really don't want to see it in the Clarence Valley.
I'm Leonie Blaine. I've been living in the Clarence Valley since 1988, so that's a reasonable amount of time now. I'm here today as part of the newly formed Grafton Knitting Nannas because I have a really serious concern about coal seam gas in this area and right through Australia. I think it's an industry that we shouldn't be having at all because of all the problems that are associated with it. The Knitting Nannas, a few of us got this idea we'd like to have a different way of demonstrating against coal seam gas, and we saw that the Knitting Nannas up around Lismore had a very effective and different way of doing things by having knit-ins outside politicians' offices, and also things like the evaporation ponds in the casino area, and we thought that's a nice way to go, and we can supplement what's already happening with other people around the valley who are protesting against CSG. Now, some of our concerns are things like the issue of fracking, which is very problematic, and we're concerned that even though we've been told that probably fracking isn't going to happen here, we know that there are some areas where there's tight sands and they will have to use fracking to release the gas. There are issues in relation to the wastewater. Coal seam gas mining apparently produces huge quantities of water, and this water has a lot of salts in it and a lot of toxic substances apparently, and we're concerned about how that water is going to be dealt with. Just putting it in ponds and leaving it to evaporate doesn't seem to be the answer. There's too much produced, and also there are issues about when there's wet weather, about ponds overflowing. So the government doesn't seem to have a sensible answer to that, and they're expecting that we will accept what they say. Then there's the issue of prime agricultural land and the threat to that. We've seen in Queensland how much of the prime agricultural land's been taken over by mining infrastructure. We don't want to see that in this area. And there's as well the issue of land clearing. Lots of native vegetation is cleared so that they can put in roads, pipelines, the wells themselves, pumping stations, etc. So they're just a few of the concerns, and the knitting nanas, like our friends to the north, are concerned about this, and we want answers from our politicians. They keep saying everything's okay, the government will look after you, we've got everything in hand. We don't believe that. We think that's just typical political spin. Typical political spin.